We all have an intellectual and an emotional mind. Now, why does that even matter? Why is it important? To understand the difference between your intellectual mind and your emotional mind, to know that it's there, to know how you behave in the various situations, will allow you to know why you're thinking and behaving in certain ways. It'll help you to understand your responses, to moderate your responses, and to appreciate when and how you should deal with situations. This simple thing can be a game changer. Here's as simple as it is: intellectual mind, emotional mind. And the difference between the two is that your intellectual mind is you on a good day. It's you when the stress levels are low to normal. It's you when you're positive. It's you assessing the world, making comparisons, easily coming to good, solid conclusions that stick. It's your conscious part of your mind. You're aware of things. That's you processing the world, and you're aware of it. The other part of you, the limbic system, the emotional mind, this is your survival part of your brain, and it's a very different place. By design, it has to be negative. It has to see the worst case in every situation because it's there to keep you survived. It's trained to look for danger, to assume danger, because it's trying to keep you alive. The other thing about this part of the brain is there's no conscious intelligence, unlike the intellectual mind. There's no conscious intelligence here. It's subconscious. It processes things in a very basic mechanical way. It can't think. It just processes things mechanically. And the kind of things that it can sense is things that you can see, smell, taste, touch, and feel. Very basic things. And it's always listening to things you can see, smell, taste, touch, and feel. Every split second, it's assessing these inputs. Because it can't think, it has to reach across to your memories, to your behavior bank. And it does a pattern match. It looks in there and says, is there something in there that looks, sees, smells, tastes, and touches and feels like this thing that I'm experiencing? And if it does, it processes that without thinking. So the reason why this is important, right? If you at any point are looking at how you're behaving, if you're entirely happy with the decisions you're making, you're finding it easy to make good decisions, you're positive, it's you on a good day, it doesn't matter. But when you're struggling to make good decisions, because the fuller the stress bucket is, the more you go into this limbic system. You see, we have two nervous systems. You've got a rest and digest, and you've got a fight and flight. When you're on a good day, when you're in the intellectual mind, you're in your rest and digest nervous system, dominant, intellectual mind, dominant. But the fuller the stress bucket goes, the more you've got this negativity going on and on and on, the more that stress tap turns on, the fuller your bucket gets. When it gets to about a halfway mark, the alarm turns on, and you actually switch nervous systems into the fight and the flight nervous system, and then you sink into the survival part of your brain that becomes dominant. So on a good day, you're not worried about where you are, but on a bad day, on a day where you're struggling to make good decisions, when you're struggling to be positive, when you're seeing the worst case, when you're micromanaging, when you're finding it hard to trust people, when you're seeing danger everywhere, when you're having difficulty sleeping, those kinds of things, this is where you are. And when we understand that you are supposed to be there with those levels of stress in your body, then you can kind of adjust and respond accordingly, because there's no conscious intelligence here. There's no difference between, this part of the brain doesn't know the difference between reality and imagination. It just responds in a mechanical way. And we have no control over that. What you have got control over is how you respond to, going in there and turning the stress tap off. When you are having a tricky day, change the way that you respond to what's happening around you, the way that you're thinking about things, reducing the amount of negative thoughts you're having. There are a number of mindful practices you can do. You can have a little bit of exercise. You can get out for a walk. You can get into nature. You can do a little bit of meditation. You can listen to hypnosis recording. All kinds of things you can do to reduce the levels of stress, because as soon as the levels of stress comes down again, you switch back into that rest and digest nervous system, and you go back to intellectually dominant. So the long and the short of it is that low stress means you're in rest and digest, intellectually dominant. High stress means you're in the fight and flight, survival mode. Positive, negative, easy, tricky. I'm Jake from Stressed Executive, helping people realize whether they're in rest or digest and fight and flight, and then helping them get to where it is that they want to be by addressing the stress and unwinding the mind.